time now to review headlines from today's newspapers. And we are joined by the Ombudsman of This Day, Arise Media Group. He's also This Day Newspaper Limited Group's Executive Director. It is, of course, Kayode Komolafe, who joins us from Calabar, I think.
Yes. Calabar.
Good morning. Good morning, KK. Hope you can hear me. Hope you can hear us.
Good morning,
Happy Easter from... Good morning, Steve.
Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter.
How is Calabar?
Happy Easter. Easter greetings from the Canaan city, Calabar.
All right.
Very nice.
Good to hear your voice. So we'll go straight into it, KK.
Great.
And we'll start with This Day on Sunday. The lead story here says, Tinubu, a banditry-free united Nigeria is possible. With the riders, says Nigerians tired of excuses, lamentations. We're not overwhelmed by plateau killings, Lalong reassures. Blames crisis on porous interstate borders. Terrorists have formed parallel government. MBF laments. Below that story, that lead story on the cover of This Day, is the story that readers will find on page 72 of the paper. Despite Buhari's directive, APC yet to refund national chairmanship aspirants. Those are, as you know, those are those who paid for the form but had to step down for consensus candidates. On top of the lead story, PDP NEC takes final decision on zoning of presidential ticket Thursday. NWC meets Tuesday, extends sale of nomination forms. Purchase, submission of forms now to end April 19 and 20. And on top of the masthead, at Easter, governors PDP urge Nigerians to pray against insecurity. And then there's a story on the window, Nigeria to benefit as IMF approves $45 billion for low middle-income countries. World Bank increases mineral survey aircraft in Southwest. And I think that we shouldn't end this, KK, without mentioning and celebrating the gentleman on the cover, 75 hearty chairs. That is for Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, who clocked 75 and had a book launch recently in Lagos. With him, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, SAN, and of course the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku. Dr. Ogunbiyi, as you know, was once the MD of Daily Times and one of the leading lights in Nigerian media and journalism landscape. So those are the stories, KK, for your kind analysis.
Thank you, Steve. Like you said, it's quite in order that it's not too late to say happy birthday to Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, the Balogun of the Para. Like you said, a leading light in the Nigerian media and also a great entrepreneur in his own right. And also to say that it's a memoirs, the Road Never Forget, which was launched last Thursday. It's actually a book to read, capturing, because it's part like the reviewer, Professor Femi Oshobusan, said, it's not just the story of Yemi Ogunbiyi, but also partly telling the history of Nigeria, having been a witness to history on many occasions. So it's good to read. And also to say that it was also salutary that on that occasion, Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi, launched. He said that the proceeds from the launch of the book will go to a school project that is managing in Remo Division, what we call the Yemi Ogunbiyi Anglican Schools. So once more, I say happy birthday to Dr. Ogunbiyi. The lead story of This Day on Sunday, captures this point, and that the point is that in Nigeria today there is indeed a consensus, at least on one thing, and that is that security is the biggest issue in the country today, and it also promises to be the biggest issue of the election next year. Why I say it's a consensus that from the story you see that a politician that is seeking power, that is not holding political office now, that is Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, who is a presidential aspirant seeking the ticket of APC, it's reported to have said that it is possible, on a very optimistic note, that it is possible to have a banditry country. That in other words, that it is possible, for the Nigerian state, to defeat terrorism. Another politician who is in power, albeit at the subnational level, that is Governor Lalong of Plateau State, also is sharing the optimistic note of in a different occasion, also sharing the optimism of Asiwaju Tinubu, and that is to say that his state, Plateau State, which has been under attack more or less in the last few days by terrorists, that it will not be overwhelmed, that Plateau State will not be overwhelmed. Now, on another note, that is different from what the politicians are saying, is the statement from the Middle Belt Forum, and that is now raising here that, in their own estimation, that terrorists might have actually formed a parallel government. That is, that you are now having a categorical challenge to the Nigerian state. So, what all this boils down to, like, the summation of it is that there is, across the political spectrum, the government, the opposition, and the people in general, that the consensus is that insecurity, perhaps, is the number one problem of Nigeria today, and that is very where it is so. It's very obvious that for any other step to be taken, whether in the level of the economy, or the polity, or the social realm, you just have to have a secure space that is called Nigeria before you will attempt any program. But the thing to add is that beyond this optimistic note, and beyond this admittance of the fact that insecurity is the problem, is that for those who are seeking power now, that is the aspirants who want to become candidates of their respective parties by June, it is important that insecurity is made an issue, and that people should be able to offer concrete program, that is an alternative to what is on now, or an improvement on what is on, so that it will be tackled. So that it will not, the discussing politics, the discussion of politics, should not be politicized. Rather, it should be seen as an imperative, as a concrete issue, of program articulation, of problem solving, and that is what should be expected from politicians in the coming days, when politics will be in full swing. Now, the other story, on the front page, the two of them could be combined. That is the PDP is still struggling for to have this zoning formula, as well as APC, more or less doing injustice to its own members. Because if there's been a presidential directive, that those who collected the forms before the party arrives, at a consensus candidate in choosing their chairman, it should be automatic. There shouldn't be anybody, for the party by now to have returned the nomination fees that they paid, because this speaks volume, about the whole thing about the internal organization of political parties as a very vital institution of democracy. If a party cannot do justice to its own member, if a party cannot be democratic in its own internal regime, how much faith can we put in that particular party that will be able to promote the cause of justice, the cause of freedom, the cause of equity, in the country at large, if power is entrusted in the hand of other party? I think it is something which is very scandalous on the part of APC. In fact, you shouldn't be talking about it now, that the money ought to be returned immediately. Those aspirants for the position of the chairman were asked by the same party to step down for a consensus candidate. And for the PDP, of course, and the unsolicited advice I want to give them is that perhaps the zoning formula that the party is able to arrive at, perhaps they determine his fortune in the election, and that is hoping that the party will manage his affairs in such a way that it will arrive at a zoning formula that will steer all the parties from the process of implosion. So that is, quite, important to note, both for APC as well as PDP.
All right.
All right. Thank you, KK. Adefemi, do we have something on the cover of this style?
Yes, so on the cover of this day style this weekend, we've got part 2, Women in Politics, to be continued. Okay. So what we do have is a picture of 12 women. Among them include Khadija Okunulamidi, as well as Farida Odangi Sulaiman, Damilola Otubanjo, many women who are in politics. And what the spread does is look into each of them, their educational backgrounds, their careers, what it is that they have to offer. Many of them are already engaged in politics, whether it's in elected positions or doing the wrangling of making up a public profile on the sidelines. But it is a very interesting write-up on there. And as ever with this day style, there's also pictures of different events that have been taking place on the streets of Lagos, of course. When we go ahead into the write-up, that Azuka Ogunbiyi, I hope I'm saying your last name right. Yes. She's one who actually sat down with these women to get their information. And it is, as always, a fantastic read. As I said, though, there are 12 women who have been featured, each of their stories interesting and inspiring in their own right.
The women in politics?
Yes.
That's good. I mean, I think Khadija has found a party now.
She has.
The SDP.
She
declared openly and she's gone in for the party's a presidential ticket. I think that would be a good one because SDP is quite solid.
Exactly. They seem to be, getting a lot of people, solid candidates, some solid aspirants on their platform.
They will be on the top 5 without a doubt. So that would be a good one for her.
Absolutely.
If no other person, comes up and, challenges her.
Yeah.
KK, will you have some thoughts on that?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a great thing that this data, is on this full Easter Sunday, it's coming up with that kind of a very beautiful cover. Because the issue that is there is issue that is a cause that is worth promoting by all Democrats, all of us of freedom and equity, gender equity. And it is in a way it should be read as a continuation of the advocacy, which the victory recorded by Nigerian women a few weeks ago, when the court ruled, that the 35%, affirmative action in terms of women representation in government that should be enforced. So while hoping that governments at all levels, local government, state government, and the federal government will comply with the court decision, it is worth reminding Nigeria, especially the Nigerian male politicians who now dominate the scene, that it is really it is very uncomplimentary that Nigeria, ranks very low, on the table, of the League of African Nations. That is, let us even use African standards. Not use Western standards or anywhere else. Here in Africa, in terms of women representation, Nigeria is very poor in the league. In Rwanda, more than 61% of members of parliament, they are women. In South Africa, more than 46% are women. The same thing goes for Mozambique, Senegal, where you have more than 40% of representation in parliament. So even the 35% of representation at all departments of government that we are celebrating, it is still lower than what obtains in Rwanda, in South Africa, in Namibia, in Senegal, even in Mozambique. So by highlighting this, this and promoting these courageous women who have stepped forward, to also be not just only to participate, but also control, the process, the political process. I think it's a great thing that this time, has done today.
Yes. Yes, I think so too. It says to be continued. I hope there will be a part 3.
Part 3, yeah.
Yes, I'm looking
Many
forward
people to focus on, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Should we go for...
I guess let's move over to the
Guardian.
Yes, the Guardian. The lead story there. Wake up, Nigeria. Nigeria is burning. Clerics and others tell Buhari. I mean, some of the writers there say, the religious leaders say corruption is responsible for the alarming rate of insecurity. And then the APC administration can't improve the situation. We must choose wisely, says Bishop. Okay. Now, the picture story there is a woman holding up chicken in celebration of Easter Sunday. I wonder if the price of a chicken went up. Did you buy chicken this
I mean, I always buy chicken, but I haven't noticed.
Yeah. Well, it just shows the huge celebration today, and we just keep hoping that the price of chicken goes down.
Yeah.
Well, all right. And then other stories.
Do local chicken instead?
Yes. I do local chicken. I love local chicken.
Yeah, I do too.
You guys haven't tried the broiler the
broiler?
noila, sorry, the noila that Leila was talking to about that time.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay with my guinea fowl.
Okay, that's that one, right? I've heard it's very delicious.
Very.
Especially as suya.
Yes.
I need to try that. Yes. Yeah, I heard it's really good.
Yes. All right, other stories there. Working at cross purposes, detrimental to Yoruba interests, says the Olubadan. Olubadan.
Yes.
Olubadan. Well done. Yes. Because there's 2 vowels.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll join them into one word. Well done, Oji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Another story there. Terrorists killed 2, injure several others in fresh Kaduna attack again. This is a really sad situation. And then News 4 says Nigerians tired of excuses and lamentations. I guess that was the lead story on this day. This is from presidential aspirant Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And then area commanders, DPOs to be liable for errant police officers. Glad that they've put some context to that. Now the DPOs should know that they are the ones that are responsible for these police officers. Yes. Now, above the masthead there's a special feature. Government dilly-dallies as oil theft flourishes. This was a big story this whole week, and I guess, you can read more on that on page 26 of The Guardian. And then another picture story there, presidential ticket, rally for consensus arrangement gaining traction in the PDP. Now, those people are wrangling for consensus arrangements. We have Irocha Ayu, Bukola Saraki, and Aminu Tamboa on that picture.
Yeah. The Ayu is the chairman of PDP, so he will take, the last decision on what to do, if it's going to be consensus or not. Yeah, well, but before we proceed, KK, before we come to you, we'll have to go on a short break quickly. Please don't go away, do stay with us. We'll be right back. We have just about 2 minutes. You were going to say something before dealing with The Guardian the other time.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that, yes, that is that Oji should not go spared. I mean, he should go, I should not spare her. That while sitting with Steve, he should pronounce the name of Olubadan properly. That the Oba of Ibadan is Olubadan. So,
KK, you should trust that I'll correct her.
It's Olubadan.
The story of the Guardian, just like again, reinforces the point I was trying to make earlier, that is the primacy of insecurity. That insecurity is #1 problem of Nigeria today. But we see that even from the if you look at the Easter messages, from different constituencies, the clergy, elder statesmen, the civil society organization, individual, the thing is pointing the attention of the Nigerian state, to the challenge of insecurity. And that is all. And the simple message is that it is the constitutional responsibility, of government. In fact, the Constitution says that is the primary purpose of government, that to ensure security. But the dimension which the Guardian story has introduced, it is also worth pondering. And that is now some leaders are accusing that perhaps at the root, of the problem of the Nigerian state to grapple with insecurity is a corruption. And I think that is something that should attract the attention of the commander-in-chief himself, who bears the ultimate responsibility, to this insecurity matter. As we see also from the front page of the Guardian, there are reports, of cross-border attacks, and all over the country, the reports of killings, of kidnap, of maybe people, has become a daily affair, and we shouldn't, accept that these are just routine matters. It all points to the fact that the Nigerian state, is more or less facing, a state of emergency, in security matters, and I think in reflections in this season, which Easter also coincides, with Ramadan, that there should be, deep reflections, part of everybody, how to bring forth new solutions, creative solutions to tackle the problem of insecurity.
All right, KK, if we have just 30 seconds. We wanted to do a combo of Telegraph, Tribune, Vanguard because of the lead stories that they all have. Yes. Telegraph says APC presidential ticket, White Tinubu, Oshibajo may lose out, according to sources. Tribune on the other one says Tinubu Amechi at war over 3,000 statutory delegates. While Vanguard says White Tinubu asked Oshibajo to leave Lagos politics, relocate to Ogun. But unfortunately, we haven't got time. We will have loved your thoughts. Yeah. Oji, what do you think is going on here? I mean,
you know better than I do.
The factors,
sure yes, that's what's exactly happening. Well, Mr. Komolafe, thank you very much for joining us on Newspaper Review today, and enjoy your Easter. Have fun in Calabar.
Thank you very much.